Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Continuing discussion of the divine qualities of Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Number 50, the Supreme Controller. This was a point that Srila Prabhupada often emphasized, that Krishna is the Supreme Controller. There are many controllers. In our family, we may be the controller. In our village, we may be someone is a controller. In the whole nation, there may be one controller, and there are controller demigods who control various functions within the universe. But Ishvara Parama Krishna is the supreme controller. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arshabhrita Jare Joiche Nache Tare Toiche Kare Nritya. There's actually only one controller overall, and that is Krishna. And all others are his servants who dance according to the way he makes them dance. There are two kinds of controllers, Srila Prabhupada writes here. One who is independent is called a controller, and one whose orders cannot be neglected by anyone is called a controller. Independent means not under the control of anyone else, under his own control, and whose orders cannot be neglected is called a controller. Well, of course, it is possible not to follow Krishna's rules, to defy them, but by that misuse of free will, we don't escape the control of Krishna. We just have it meted out to us in a different way, in terms of punishment. So we can't escape. Mama vartmanu vartante manusha partha savashaha. Everyone is on Krishna's path, whether we like it or not. Regarding Krishna's complete independence and lordship, Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, an example, or at the very beginning of Bhagavatam, he is swatantra, independent. One of the first qualities of Krishna mentioned in Bhagavatam, Janmadhyasa yaton vyad iteratas chartes svagvignya swarat. Swarat means independent. Kaliya was a great offender. This is an example given. Krishna still favored him by marking his head with his lotus feet. Remembering Kaliya, there's one quality is that Krishna is especially inclined to and merciful toward women. Why was Kaliya spared? He should have been killed like any other demon. One major reason is because the wives of Kaliya, who we just sang about, Naga Patni, Naga Kanyagan, Bhakti Teja Hara Pailo Govinda Charan. They attained the lotus feet of Govinda by their devotion to him. So they interceded on his behalf. And also, involuntarily, Kaliya had done a great service to Krishna by giving him a dancing arena on his heads. And he also got the mercy of the gopis who were dancing on his heads. Now Krishna favored him Whereas Lord Brahma, although having prayed to Krishna with so many wonderful verses, we have in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, the prayers of Lord Brahma to Krishna, the first chapter of the Bhagavatam, which was for the BBT edition, not translated by Srila Prabhupada, but several of the verses were translated by him. Srila Prabhupada passed away before starting the 14th chapter. He finished on the 13th chapter. But still several of the verses are translated by him because they appear within Sri Caitanya-caritamrta and within Srila Prabhupada's commentary. So many important statements are there. But nevertheless, Krishna was not particularly favorable to him. Krishna was just standing there waiting. When is this guy going to finish? He didn't show him any particular favor. That's an example of his independence. He can deal with people as he likes. If he wants, he can give mercy to a demon, and he doesn't have to give devotion to anyone. It's no guarantee. You can chant 64 rounds a day and think, now for sure, I'm going to get Krishna prema. You can even devise a technique to chant 64 rounds in 4 hours, I'm told. So I don't know how you can do it, because that's less than 4 seconds a mantra. How are you going to do it? How can you chant it so quickly? And the emphasis is on the speed. 64 rounds, got to get it over. It doesn't seem to be a very devotional approach. But anyway, whatever you do, you can follow Ekadashi very strictly every time. Even you can distribute many, many books. Well, that you will, because Prabhupada will intercede on your behalf. So then Krishna, he's completely independent, but he's subordinate to his devotees. So there's a good way. You can, better than trying to do it by chanting so many rounds. Not that we shouldn't chant rounds. And if you have extra time on Janmashtami, it's good to chant extra rounds. It's good on any day. But Krishna is independent, but then his quality of independence is compromised by his being subordinate to his devotees. But we're just discussing him being the supreme controller here, which adds more sweetness to his pastimes. Otherwise, why make a big thing if some mother in a village is angry with her son because of his misbehavior and she ties him up? Could happen in a village in Georgia. And if it came in the news, it would be a case of child abuse for tying him up. But otherwise, it's not a major event. But it is a major event which is celebrated even now for 1 month, because the supreme controller becomes subordinate to the love of his devotees. So understanding that Krishna is the supreme controller makes all his pastimes all the more sweet, especially in those pastimes in which he doesn't play as the supreme controller. The very fact that he manifests his pastimes in this world demonstrates that he is not, in those instances, acting as the supreme controller. Otherwise, just by his will, he can affect everything. He doesn't have to come to this world at all. Some people doubt Krishna is supreme because he's doing things, whereas the Supreme Lord has nothing to do. He himself says in Bhagavad-gita. But he also says, I act to show an example for others. But he's completely independent. There's no question of why. Why is Krishna dancing with the gopis? Why? Why should he do that when it doesn't seem to be very befitting or moral? And it can be explained that the gopis, they're all facsimiles, or they're not, what's the word? Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavita. They're all him in another form. There is internal potency. So Krishna is playing with himself, and they're his eternal associates, and they're not really married to us. There are so many arguments which can be given, but the best and immediate argument is that he can do whatever he likes, and who the hell are you to challenge anyway? Whether you like it or not, he can do whatever he likes. He's completely independent. Not being neglected by anyone. That's another definition of the supreme controller. In Bhagavatam, we find Uddhava telling Vidura that Lord Krishna is the master of the three modes of material nature. He is the enjoyer of all opulences, and therefore there is no one equal to or greater than him. Which means that all the great kings and emperors and demigods used to come, all the great controllers of the universe would come down and offer obeisances to him. One devotee said, "My dear Krishna, when you order Brahma, now you may create the universe. And when you order Lord Shiva, now you dissolve this material manifestation. You are in this way creating and dissolving the material creation yourself. Simply by your orders and by your partial representation of Vishnu, you are maintaining the universe. In this way, O Krishna, enemy of Kamsa, there are so many Brahmas and Shivas who are simply carrying out your orders." There's one song in the Sharanagati series by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, "Tumi Sarveshwareshwara." You are the controller of all the controllers. So there are many controllers, no doubt. But they're all controlled by Krishna. So he is the supreme controller. Quality number 51, he is changeless. He doesn't change, even when he appears in the material world. He is always in his constitutional position. Jiva-swarupoi Krishna Nitya-das. The constitutional position of all the living beings is to be the servant of Krishna, and Krishna-swarupoi Jiva Nitya Swami. Krishna is, his constitutional position is to be the controller of all the living beings. Krishna, even when he comes to this world, doesn't become an ordinary mortal. We conditioned souls in this material world have our original consciousness covered. Our spiritual, constitutional spiritual positions are covered, and we appear in different bodies with different flavors of bodily concepts of life, and we act according to that. But Krishna doesn't change his body. He comes in the same body. He is the same person as he is in the spiritual world. Etad ishanam ishasya prakriti stho pitad gunai na yujjate sadatma stayar yad buddhis tadashraya. Krishna, this is the qualification of him being the supreme controller. This is what distinguishes him as the supreme controller. That even though he appears within material nature, he's not affected by the modes of material nature. And yatha buddhis tadashraya. And he extends that to his devotees also. They're not within material nature. He's always aloof from material nature, even though appearing within it. And this is the verse which is quoted in prose here in the Nectar of Devotion. And Srila Prabhupada summarizes that to be more clear, although the Lord sometimes appears in this material world, he has nothing to do with the modes of material nature, and he acts with full independence in his transcendental position. This is the special quality of the Lord. Number 52, all cognizant. Any person who can understand the feelings of all persons and incidents in all places at all times is called all cognizant. And an example is given in the Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 15th chapter, verse 11, in connection with Durvasa Muni's visit to the Pandavas in the forest, when Durvasa Muni came to the court of Duryodhana while the Pandavas were in exile in the forest. Duryodhana thought, let me serve him very nicely, I'll get a boon from him, and with the boon from him I'll cause more trouble for the Pandavas. He was such a demon, he already caused so much trouble, but he's always thinking how to cause more and more trouble, this Duryodhana. So he arranged for Durvasa Muni and his band of 10,000 disciples, so many disciples, to turn up at midday where the Pandavas were staying in the forest, and turn up at midday means you should feed him. And Draupadi had her Akshay Patra, her dish, or cooking pot, which she could serve unlimited amounts from it, because always with the Pandavas there were so many great sages moving with them. So Krishna gave her the facility of a cooking pot that she could serve any number of people. Just go on serving and more will come out. But when Draupadi herself took last, she would take last of all. Then that would be finished for the day. So the idea of Duryodhana was that Durvasa Muni should go just at the time when Draupadi had eaten. So it was all over there. How are you going to serve them? You have to serve a guest. If you don't serve a guest, then it's an offense. And Durvasa Muni has this, or had the proclivity of becoming very angry and cursing those who didn't please him, even though his demands be unreasonable. So Durvasa Muni came just at the time of lunch, and Yudhishthira was obliged to offer him a midday meal. And Yudhishthira, the wise Yudhishthira, buying time, said to Durvasa Muni, so you go, take bath, do all your midday rituals, and come back. In the meantime, or implied that in the meantime we'll supply something. Then Yudhishthira found out from Draupadi, there's nothing. It's all finished. She's already eaten. So Draupadi, she, not the first time, when she was insulted and threatened to be stripped naked, again by the machinations of Duryodhana and company, she called out to Krishna. So this time again she called out to Krishna, who wasn't personally present, but he arrived. And she said, now the pot is finished, everything's gone, so what are we to do with all this huge company coming? And Krishna said, is there anything left in the pot? No, I cleaned it. Have a look. And there's little bit of some forest vegetable sticking. Krishna said, give that to me. Krishna took it. Now I'm satisfied. And Yasmin tushte jagat tushta. When Krishna is satisfied, the whole universe is satisfied. So Durvasa Muni, bathing in the river with all his disciples, they suddenly felt so full. They felt completely bloated. And they thought, oh no, what are we going to do now? Because Yudhishthira must have prepared so many nice preparations and we won't be able to eat them. So they just decamped and didn't come back again. So in this way, there's an example of, that's also an example of Krishna's expertise, but he's all cognizant. He knew there was Krishna knew there was a little vegetable left in the pot, and he also knew how to solve the problem. Krishna is ever fresh, number 53. Ever fresh. There's a song by Vallabhacharya in this regard, that he's always something different. He's always fresh, always new. We have practically unlimited stock of Vaishnava songs and poems in our Gauriya Sampradaya, but in so many Vaishnava traditions, there's praise of Krishna, so many. That's also very prominent in the Vallabh Sampradaya, the songs composed in glorification of Krishna, and they're still recited regularly in the temples of the Vallabh Sampradaya, which aren't temples. Temples which are not temples, they're houses. They don't call them temples because they have the idea that it's Nanda Maharaj's house. So Krishna is ever fresh, and here Srila Prabhupada very pleasingly states, Krishna is always remembered and his name is always chanted by millions of devotees, but the devotees never become satiated. So this is another feature of Krishna's freshness. They don't become disinterested or uninterested in thinking of Krishna and chanting his holy name, but they get newer and newer impetus to continue. The more you chant, the more you want to chant. That's the idea. Therefore, Krishna is ever fresh. Another example, the knowledge that he gives of Bhagavad-gita, which is non-different from Krishna, was imparted 5,000 years ago, and it's still being read repeatedly by so many people, and still new light is always being found in it. It's always fresh. There's always something new to find in it. Even the non-devotees find that out. They not reading Bhagavad-gita in a devotional mood, but even Mohandas Gandhi, he also said that I read Gita daily and I always find something fresh in it. Krishna, his name, form, qualities, fame, paraphernalia, abode, devotees, everything in relationship with him is ever fresh. In the Bhagavatam, it's stated that all the goddesses of fortune, who were the queens at Dwaraka, by nature, goddess of fortune, Chanchala, she's always fickle and restless. She doesn't stay in any one place. She may favor someone and then just suddenly leave them. But, although that is the situation in material existence, our luck changes. The goddess of luck, lucky. Yeah. The word is there in English, lucky. That's the Bengali pronunciation of Lakshmi. So our luck will always change, but the goddesses of fortune at Dwaraka couldn't leave Krishna. They can leave anyone else, but they couldn't leave Krishna. She made sure she'll never leave Krishna by residing on his chest. So she's always attracted to Krishna because she finds him ever fresh. Whereas with others, they'll never stay very long. There's a statement by Radharani, again, it's from Lalita Madhava, a drama composed by Rupa Goswami. He's quoting his own drama, in which Krishna is compared to the greatest sculptor because he is expert at chiseling at the chastity of women. In other words, although chaste women may follow the rules and regulations of Vedic principles to become ever faithful to their husbands, Krishna is able to break their stone-like chastity with the chisel of his beauty. Most of the girlfriends of Krishna were married, but because Krishna was their friend before their marriages, they could not forget his attractive features, which were always fascinating to them, even after their marriages. And we have even, apart from the gopis of Vrindavan, there were we just sung about them also, Jaya Dvija Patni Jaya, the wives of the Yajnik Brahmanas. They were very chaste, devoted to their husbands, but they had no Brahmanas. In the lower caste, we might suspect some misbehavior. We might suspect, but among Brahmanas, well, it does happen also, but it's considered particularly bad if persons of such respectable social stature flout the laws of dharma. But the wives of the Yajnik Brahmanas had no hesitation when they were told that Krishna and Balaram are just close by to your home, which they couldn't imagine that Krishna would ever come. They never thought of it. How is it possible? So they immediately ran to him. So they ran away to him, and then Krishna told them to go back, and he said, I'll always, you hear and chant about me, and you'll find him, and they find Krishna ever fresh, even though they only saw him once. But that remembrance is enough to inspire them for eternity, because Krishna is ever fresh. How is that? Well, we want some transcendental logic. Quality number 54, Satchidananda Vigraha. His form is eternal, spiritually blissful, and all cognizant. Satchidananda, his very form, is fully spiritual. And whereas everything in material existence soon becomes stale and dull as we try to enjoy it, but the spiritual existence is just the opposite, and it's always more and more enlivening. So Krishna, again, he knows everything. How does he know everything? He doesn't, and he's completely independent. So we just had these qualities. How is that? He's independently full of all knowledge. His quality of knowledge, it's just part of being Krishna, that's all. Ananda, he's Satchit Ananda Vigraha, the very embodiment of all bliss, the reservoir of all pleasure. This was a term that Srila Prabhupada used. Krishna, the reservoir of pleasure. And this is compared, the pleasure that Krishna personally experiences and generates to others. That is so much superior to the somewhat spiritual pleasure that the impersonalists, they seek by trying to merge into the Brahman effulgence. they avoid Krishna. So they get eternity and some kind of knowledge, but they avoid Krishna. So their eternity is not eternity, because they have to fall down again. So here is the joyfulness of that Krishna experiences, and that he wants to share with others, that we can experience in relation to Krishna. That is far superior to impersonal happiness. And Srila Prabhupada discusses that here. That in the Bhagavad-gita, that's stated the Brahmabhuta joy, the Brahmabhuta happiness. But Srila Prabhupada says that's not really full happiness, but it's a sense of freedom from all anxieties, which is the first installment of joyfulness, to be free from all anxiety. But that means a sense of relief from suffering. But it's not full bliss. It's the kind of happiness you get when you're being beaten, and the person who's beating you stops beating you. So that's a kind of happiness, relief from distress. But there's positive happiness also. So positive happiness is in Krishna. It's only a first installment. Real happiness is with Krishna. And Krishna conscious happiness includes that of Brahman realization. And also the fact that Krishna is full bliss means that he attracts even the impersonalists. Atma ramascha manayo nigranta apyarukrame kurvantya haitu king bhaktim itam bhuta gurno harehe. Krishna is attractive by his bliss. What can attract an impersonalist, self-realized? He's already fixed in impersonal bliss, but he finds there's more bliss in Krishna. Brahma Samhita also says that the Brahman effulgence is the bodily ray of Krishna. Which verse is that? Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda koti kotishva shesha vasudhadi vibhuti bhinnam tad brahma nishkalam anantam shesha bhut govindavadi purusham tamam. Mixing up that. Anyway, the Brahman effulgence is coming from Krishna. That's the point. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada elaborates a bit here, as he is committed to delivering the Western world and the whole world from impersonalism and voidism. He says that the members of the Vaishnava schools therefore never try to merge into the Brahman effulgence in their pursuit of spiritual perfection. They accept Krishna as the ultimate goal of self-realization. Therefore, Krishna is called Para-Brahman, the Supreme Brahman, or Parameshwara, the gigantic controller. And Rupa Goswami quotes from Yamuna Acharya, who says, "My dear Lord, I know that the gigantic universe and gigantic space and time within the universe are covered by the 10 layers of the material elements, each layer 10 times larger than the previous one. The 3 material modes of nature, the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, the Mahavishnu, and beyond them, the spiritual sky and its spiritual planets known as Vaikunthas, and the Brahman effulgence in that spiritual sky, all of these taken together are nothing but a small exhibition of your potency." So, they're showing that everything within the material existence and the impersonal Brahman effulgence is just altogether a small exhibition of Krishna's potency. So all the happiness in material existence, all the happiness in impersonal Brahman understanding is very, very small compared to the happiness of Krishna, who is Satchit Ananda. Number 55, possessing all mystic perfections. In the Bhagavatam, there is a description of the mystic perfections which the yogis can attain. But Krishna has all these mystic perfections automatically. Just part of being Krishna. He doesn't have to try for them. So that's also links with his being independent. He can do whatever he likes because all potencies are under his control. And he has not to do any austerities or meditation or any practice to attain mystic powers. They're automatically, Krishna has all mystic perfection, which leads into number 56, Krishna's inconceivable potencies. Krishna is present everywhere, within the whole universe, beyond the universe, within the hearts of all living beings, also within every atom. Can we imagine? No, we can't. We can't even imagine every atom. It's beyond our imagination. Therefore, inconceivable. Achintya Shakti. This very important term in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. Krishna has inconceivable potencies. An example is given here. Krishna was talking with Kunti Devi, and simultaneously he entered the womb of Uttara, who was being threatened by the Brahmastra of Ashvatthama. So when Krishna entered the womb of Uttara to protect Parikshit in the womb, he was still standing among the Pandavas because he was already there previously, but he just manifested himself more in a more dynamic way, not just upadrashtanumanta cha. Generally, Krishna is present everywhere, observing everything and allowing everything to go on. But sometimes he manifests himself not latently, but dynamically. Inconceivable potencies, he can put even Brahma and Shiva into illusion, and he can protect all surrendered devotees from the reactions of sinful activities. That's another of his inconceivable potencies. So much sinful reaction. For every action we have heard, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That is a rule of material energy. Krishna can change that. For all sinful activities, and pious activities also, reaction is guaranteed. But Krishna can just change it, that's all. He doesn't have to do anything, he just desires it, that's all. Rupa Goswami therefore offers his obeisances unto Krishna by saying, Krishna, who is present as a human being, has as his mere shadow the whole material nature. He has expanded himself into so many cows, calves, and cowherd boys, and he has again manifested himself in all of them as the four-handed Narayana. He has taught millions of Brahma's self-realization, and thus he is worshipable not only by the heads of all universes, but by everyone else also. Therefore, let me always accept him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After Indra had been defeated by Krishna, when Indra was trying to stop Krishna taking the Parijata tree from Indra's heavenly abode, Narad criticized Indra. Oh, Indra, you're the king of heaven. But don't you know, Krishna already defeated Brahma and Shiva, and of course he'd already defeated Indra before that also. So what can be said of an insignificant demigod like you? Indra is so great and mighty, striding across the heavens with his thunderbolt, but he's very small compared to Brahma and Shiva. And Brahma and Shiva are very small compared to Krishna. So Narad Muni was jokingly poking verbally at Indra. But in this statement we can understand that Krishna can put into illusion even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva and Indra and do whatever he wants with them. It's his kindness that he gives those positions, and he can throw them out of those positions also if he wants. Minimizing the suffering of sinful reactions. This is an example given of Krishna's inconceivable potencies. Quoting from Brahma Samhita, Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. Every living being from Indra down to the tiny insect called the Indra Gopa is bound by the results of their activities. But Krishna relieves his devotee from such reactions just by his wish. And Krishna did that as an example given, that Krishna's teacher, his son, the son of Sandiparni Muni, had deceased at a young age. That was a reaction to some activity, and Krishna brought him back from the place of Yamaraj. He makes the rule of the universe by which people have to visit Yamaraj, and if he wants, he can break the law also. Otherwise, you can't escape Yamaraj. But by Krishna's inconceivable potency, he takes away even the reactions given by Yamaraj, and Yamaraj has to accede to Krishna's wish. Shukdev Goswami describes Krishna's inconceivable potencies. Krishna is bewildering my intelligence because although he is unborn, he has appeared as the son of Nanda Maharaj. He is all-pervading, but still he is held on the lap of Yashoda. This is contradictory, isn't it? He's unborn, but he's born. Today's Janmashtami. He's unborn, but he's born. He's all-pervading, but Yashoda holds her on her lap, holds him on her lap. Although he has innumerable forms, he's moving as one Krishna before his father and mother. In Dwaraka, he expands in 16,108 forms, and when he goes to the Sudharma assembly hall, all the forms become one. Not exactly they become one, it's the same Krishna. Inconceivable potencies. Again, another quote from Brahma Samhita, Goloka eva nivasatya kilatma bhuto. He lives in his transcendental abode, Golok Vrindavan, but still he's present everywhere, even within the atoms. In Sri Caitanya-caritamrta, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives an example of inconceivable potency, even within material existence. Nana Ratna Rashi Hoi Chintan Tamani hoite. We have the touchstone, and so many jewels can be made by the touch of the touchstone, which suggests that by giving that example, touchstones were still in circulation at the time. Sanatana Goswami also had one. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives the example. Even materially, there are inconceivable things. What to speak of the inconceivable potencies of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Here's an example of his inconceivable potencies. Number 57, Krishna's body generates innumerable universes. 14th chapter of Bhagavatam, Lord Brahma's prayers, we were referring to that. He says to Krishna, my dear Lord, false ego, intelligence, mind, sky, air, fire, water, and earth are the material ingredients of this universe, which can be compared to a gigantic pot. In that gigantic pot, my body is of insignificant measurement. And even though one of the many universes is created by me, innumerable universes are coming and going from the pores of your body, just as atomic particles are seen flickering in the sunlight. I am very, very insignificant before you, and I am therefore begging your pardon. Please be merciful to me. That same Krishna, who is playing as a cowherd boy in Vrindavan, is the source of the Karna Dakashayi Vishnu, from whose body are generated innumerable universes. And an elaboration on this. If one takes account of only one universe, he will find so many combinations of wonderful things. There are innumerable planets within one universe, innumerable residences, places of demigods, so many wonderful things within one universe. The diameter of the universe is 4 billion miles, and it is infested. Srila Prabhupada here used the word infested, which gives the idea that everything in the material world is undesirable, infested with many unfathomable regions known as patalas, or lower planetary systems. Krishna is the origin of all of the universe, everything in the universe, of all the universes and everything within all the universes. But he's always seen in Vrindavan exhibiting his inconceivable potencies. So how can we fully worship Krishna? He's so powerful, he's so great, we're so small, he has inconceivable potencies. How can we do that? Offer him a leaf and some water with love, and Krishna will be satisfied. That's also inconceivable, how such a great person can be satisfied with such a simple offering, and how he can accept the offerings of so many devotees in so many universes, all simultaneously. Number 58, the original source of all incarnations. Jayadev Goswami in his Gita Govinda has sung, the Lord has saved the Vedas in his form as a fish, and he has borne the whole universe on his back in the form of a tortoise. He has picked up the earthly planet from the water in the form of a boar. He killed Hiranyakashipu in the form of Nrsimhadev. He cheated Bali Maharaj in the form of Vamana. He's the supreme everything, supreme cheat also. Can cheat you out of the whole universe if you happen to possess it. He annihilated all the dynasties of the Kshatriyas in the form of Parashuram. He killed all the demons in the form of Lord Rama. He accepted the great plough in the form of Balaram. He annihilated all the atheistic persons in the form of Kalki, and he saved all the poor animals in the form of Lord Buddha. So there's the 10 prominent incarnations, 10 prominent avatars are described in the Dasavatar Stotram at the beginning of Jayadev Goswami's Gita Govinda. But there are innumerable avatars who all ultimately emanate from Krishna. Just like the waves in the ocean, you can't count how many there are. And similarly, no one can count how many avatars are coming from Krishna's body. Number 59, Krishna gives salvation to the enemies that he kills. And Srila Prabhupada, in discussing this quality, discusses the term apavarga, which means not pavarga. And pavarga is pa-pa-ba-ba-ma in the Sanskrit alphabets. In the Sanskrit alphabet, there are 5. They're in one class. There are different classes of nouns, not nouns, consonants. Different classes of consonants according to the way they're pronounced. The first is guttural, k, k, g, k, according to how it's pronounced. So this that's labial, is it not? P, it's done by the lips. So anyway, the point is that pa, that's called parabhava, which means defeat. So Krishna is apavarga. Apavarga means liberation, freedom from defeat of material existence and all the other conditions. Pa means fena, foaming at the mouth due to hard work. Or pa can also be taken as parishrama, hard work. Pa. Ba means bondage. Ba means bhiti, fear. And ma indicates death. So pavarga signifies our struggle in material existence and our meeting with defeat, exhaustion, bondage, fearfulness, and at last death. And apavarga means getting free from all these material conditions. So Krishna is the giver of apavarga, the path of liberation. For the impersonalists, their idea of release, moksha, mukti, is merging into the Supreme. And the enemies of Krishna get the same liberation, which is a kind of punishment. It's you're causing so much trouble. Krishna kills. Indrari vyakalam lokam hridayanti yoge yoge. Krishna comes in every age to destroy those who are causing trouble to the demigods. They're causing so much trouble. Okay, get out of here. Get out of the whole material world. Just go cool off in the Brahmajyoti. So you're just robbed of personality. Just become a non-person in the Brahman effulgence. Of course, not totally robbed, but the impersonal liberation is being as if it's impersonal, as if not a person. So the persons are meant to serve Krishna and love Krishna. So if you don't want to execute your function as a person, then the first stage of punishment is from Yamaraj to try to bring you to your senses. But then if you want to escape from Yamaraj's punishment, but you don't want to surrender to Krishna, then you can become a non-person, as if a non-person. And the same thing is given to the enemies of Krishna, who he personally kills. He sends them to the impersonal Brahman effulgence. And what do? Are you stuck there? Well, then we come to quality number 60, which is that he is the attractor of liberated souls. And that we discussed with the Atma Rama verse is very famous. Shukdev Goswami was giving, or the example was given by Sutta Goswami of Shukadev Goswami when Shonaka Rishi asked Sutta Goswami that, well, how is it Shukadev was parinishthito pinaya gurnye? He was already situated in transcendence, in impersonal transcendence. He was self-realized. How was he attracted to Krishna? How is it you can become attracted to anything? And the example is given. Krishna attracts even liberated souls because his attraction is on the fully spiritual platform, spiritual variegatedness. Another example is given of the Kumaras, who are quoted as saying, how wonderful it is that although we are completely liberated, free from desire, and situated at the stage of a Paramahamsa, we are still aspiring to taste the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. There are 4 extra qualities which are found only in Krishna and not even in the various Vishnu forms, and particularly seen in Krishna in Vrindavan. But I'll keep that for another session, and we'll move on to the next program now. Hare Krishna, Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai, Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai, Shri Krishna Janmashtami ki jai, Hare Krishna.